position. So now that I have this, the first thing we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about proportion. Proportion is just how big things are in relation to each other. Okay, so obviously looking at it, we know that like the tallest item is the roll of toilet paper, but in order to get everything to kind of work out, we have to sort of figure out how things relate to each other. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about the cube, right? So that's my cube. And we know that this line right here is just a straight up horizontal line. So I'm going to go over here to my paper and I'm going to draw a horizontal line. Now I'm using my HB pencil. I'm drawing really lightly because remember we're going to go back and we're going to add value to this. So we want to make sure that when we add value, we're going to be able to erase pencil if we need to. So then I'm going to look at the two lines for the sides of the box. So, you know, I know that they're kind of at an angle, but I might not know exactly what that angle is. So we have this trick we can use with our pencil, which is we take our pencil, we hold it all the way locked arms straight. We don't want to bend it because it'll change. But what I'm going to do is I have my pencil straight up and down, and like a clock hand, we don't want to tilt it back or forwards, keeping it parallel to the body. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hold that pencil along that top line. Now, when I look at this pencil line right now, it is an angle. So when I draw it here, that diagonal, this is the diagonal that I'm going to want to draw on my paper. So like that. So I can check it, right? That's the angle I see here. And then I can line it up there and see if I see it there. So then I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom. So I'm going to hold my pencil, arm is locked, straight up and down. And I'm going to do the same thing. So then I have this diagonal. Now obviously to make the back of that box, it's just another straight line. But so now I want to do this side of the box, this one right here, and that is a steeper box, right? Because it's smaller, we don't see any of it. So I'm gonna do the same thing, hold my pencil straight, and then I'm gonna lay it along that diagonal. So you'll notice, like think about hands of a clock, that's like a 10 o'clock, right? So we're gonna go back over here, and there it is, and I'm gonna draw that 10 o'clock. Now I'm gonna notice how lightly I'm drawing. This is not pressing hard, we are just lightly sketching. So go back here, and I'm going to make another, I have my arm locked, I'm lining back up. Again, it's 10 o'clock. So here I'm gonna do another 10 o'clock. And then that back line is just a straight up and down angle, right? Straight up and down. So you can hold my pencil up and down. All right. So next, oops, sorry guys. So I have the side here, this here. I don't know if you can see, there we go. I'll draw a little darker so you can see it. Okay, so now I have to do the back of the box. So same thing, holding my pencil and holding it against that back diagonal. And it looks like it's again gonna be 10 o'clock. So here we are. There we go. And to do that back line, we're gonna go like this. And what is that? It's not 3. Okay. So now I have this lightly drawn. So now that I have this lightly drawn, the next thing I need to do is we're going to talk about proportion. So this is how like using and tilting your pencil can help you get the angles of stuff. But let's think about the proportion of everything, right? So we have this cube, and now I have a cube on my table, but let's figure out how big that little hippo is in comparison to my block. So what I'm going to do is lock my arm again, hold my pencil, line the tip of the pencil up with the top of the corner like this. So this is my measurement. This is like the width. Look, when I move it, this is the width of my block. So Now that I know this, so this block height, now if I move it up, I can see that that hippo is even taller than one of those blocks, right? It looks like it's maybe, what do you think, like 1.25 of that height. So when I go here and I'm looking at this, I know I have this, and then I go up, we said 1 and maybe 1/4. So if I'm gonna make a mark there, and then we said like 1/4 of this. So let's guess there. So now I have this little mark here. So this tells me, this little mark here tells me where the top of that hippo is. Now I can go back over here and I'll do the same thing. I'm gonna check out the thickness of my hippo. So at his fattest spot, right? He's about, it looks like he's the width of a pencil tip. So when I look here, it almost looks like he's half as big as that whole thing. So if I'm looking at this and I'm thinking that is one whole one, if I think about half, I know that he's gonna be about that big, right? So now that I have these dimensions, I can go ahead and kind of fill it in, like what it looks like. So I'm gonna go back over here, and I know that, you know, he's rounded on the bottom, right? And then he kind of goes up, he kind of tapers to the top. So I'm gonna taper him, you know. So for now, I just have that lumpy bean, and I can go back and I can add the ears later. But other things that I want to think about, I want to think about the toilet paper, right? How big is the toilet paper in relationship to my box? So again, we can take our measurement, hold our pencil out, arm, and I'm taking that measurement and I'm going, okay, to the top of the, you know, to the top of the head of the doodad, the hippo, and then again. So it looks like that distance right there, there's about 3 of those, right? Let me make sure. My arm is locked. I take 1, 2, 3. It's a little bit bigger than that. So if I think about my measurements, right, I know this is 1, 2, we said 3. So that's my 3. Whoops. So now that I have my 3, I know that this is roughly how tall it's going to be, but it's a little bit taller. So I'm just going to make a little rounded line there. So if I want to think about how big that toilet paper is, I can always compare it if I want to. Like the width of the toilet paper, here we go, that's the width of the toilet paper, and that equals, you know, here, I'll do this. The width of the box, right? Here's the width of the box. The width of the box is a little less than 2 of these, right? So if I think about here, I'm gonna check my width. Here's my, oops, hold on, I'm gonna figure out. So if I look at my still life, right? If I look at where the cylinder, the toilet paper starts to come up, it comes up right in the middle of that little hippo head. So I'm gonna go over here, I'm gonna look at my hippo head, and I'm just gonna go straight up. If I wanna figure out what that distance is, let's see if I can figure it out. I'm gonna take that distance, there it is, and figure out, okay, look at that. It looks like it goes to like the first hump of the hippo. So if I'm looking at my hump, my hippo hump, here's my hippo hump. So I want this kind of distance to be this distance, yes. And so from there, I'm just gonna draw outward. And then we can figure out, I've forgotten now what we said. We said, here's one of these. The width of this box is, look at that. It's almost to the edge of the cup, huh? So over here, I can use this measurement and go here, here, and I'm just gonna make a little mark here. So this is where our cup is going to be, right? So this is all really light drawing. So we can use this idea of holding our pencil to figure out what the angles are of things. Like what's the angle of that, you know, what's the angle of that cup? What is the relationship between that egg's this big, and the top of the cup? Look at that, they're the same. So when I'm drawing, I can figure out what my proportions are just by standing here with my locked arm. Okay, so now I want you to try to draw your still life.